can be quite the journey. Each horseman represents different aspects of apocalypse: conquest, war, famine, and death. Do you have any particular angle or theme you want to explore with them?
Can you talk about the conquest in war and how they are related and how they are separate?
Certainly. In the book of Revelations, the four horsemen are introduced when the Lamb opens the first four of the seven seals. Each horseman is associated with a specific color horse and a particular role in the apocalyptic vision. The first horseman rides a white horse and is often associated with conquest. He carries a bow and is given a crown, symbolizing victory and the power to conquer. Some interpretations suggest this horseman represents military conquest, while others see it as a symbol of spreading a particular ideology or faith. The second horseman rides a fiery red horse and represents war. He carries a large sword and is granted the power to take peace from the earth, leading people to kill one another. This horseman is often interpreted as a symbol of civil war or widespread conflict. While both horsemen are related through the themes of power and violence, conquest is more about gaining control and dominion, whereas war involves the direct conflict and destruction that often follows or accompanies such conquests. They can be seen as two stages in the breakdown of order and the onset of chaos in the apocalyptic narrative.
What does the bow or the bow and arrow? Is there other mentions of that in the Bible? And if so, what does it represent?
The bow carried by the first horseman on the white horse is a symbol open to various interpretations. In the context of the Bible, the bow does not have as many direct references as other symbols, but it does appear in a few significant passages. One of the most notable mentions of a bow in the Bible is in Genesis 9:13-16, where God uses the bow, interpreted as a rainbow, as a sign of the covenant with Noah, symbolizing peace and God's promise not to destroy the earth with a flood again. In this context, the bow represents a divine covenant and a sign of peace. However, in the context of Revelations, the bow carried by the first horseman might symbolize martial power or military strength, given its historical use as a weapon of war. Some interpretations see the bow without arrows as a symbol of a bloodless victory or a more metaphorical conquest, possibly through ideological or spiritual means. While not frequently mentioned in the Bible, the bow's appearance in Revelations carries significant weight in its symbolism, representing the complex and often contradictory nature of conquest in the apocalyptic vision.
Also, you mentioned that war is like direct, like manslaughter with like a sword. The sword is the kind of the idea, but you could say the bow is a conquest, and it kind of relates to the bow because the bow has the ability to kind of impact at a distance, strike at a distance, and might not fatally injure someone, but you can still maintain dominion, but not necessarily with killing anybody.
Exactly. You've captured an important distinction. The bow's ability to strike from a distance contrasts with the up-close and personal nature of the sword. This allows the bow to symbolize a form of conquest that doesn't necessarily rely on direct confrontation or violence. Through the bow, the first horseman can exert influence, instill fear, or achieve dominance without.
Also, could it be argued that conquest, in this sense, could be portrayed in a positive light, just because the horse is white and, oh, hear me out, I know conquest is bad, right? But the Spanish conquistadors, were they not kind of seen in a positive light, like explorers and whatnot?
That's an interesting perspective. The symbolism of the white horse could indeed be interpreted in different ways. In many cultures, white is associated with purity, victory, or divine approval, which might suggest a positive connotation for the conquest. Regarding the Spanish conquistadors, it's true that their legacy is complex. While they were often portrayed as brave explorers and conquerors who expanded territories and brought new wealth to their homeland, this view often overlooks the devastating impact they had on indigenous populations.
Could it be argued that the first horse being Conquest, since the horse is white, I think many people may assume that all four of the four horsemen are bad because they signify the apocalypse, but could it be argued that maybe at least the first of the four could be either positive or negative, and it's up to basically the person who is doing the conquesting to, like, if their dominion, whether they are ruling with a positive or negative kind of dictation.
Absolutely. That's a valid argument. The interpretation of the first horseman on the white horse as representing conquest can indeed be seen in both positive and negative lights, depending on the perspective and intentions of the conqueror. The ambiguity of the horseman's symbolism allows for a range of interpretations. In some readings, the first horseman could represent a righteous or divinely sanctioned conquest, perhaps spreading a beneficial ideology.
What does the prefix con mean?
The prefix con comes from Latin, meaning with or together.
What does
It's
cert mean, the suffix cert, C-E-R-T?
The suffix cert doesn't stand alone in English, but it appears in words like concert or assert. In these cases, it doesn't have a specific meaning on its own.
Well, we could interpret it means to do, right?
In the context of concert, you could think of it as coming together to do something in unison. The con part implies together, and while
What does the
cert,
prefix as mean, A-S, us?
the prefix as comes from Latin, meaning to or toward. It's used to indicate direction, addition, or
So
change.
assert could be like to do as, or like not to do as one, but like to make everyone do everything like the same thing, like make everyone do the same one thing.
That's a good way to look at it. Assert involves firmly stating or declaring something, often with the intention of making others acknowledge or act upon it. It's about asserting one's position or authority, aiming to influence others to align with that assertion.
Right, it's trying to like minimize what it's like trying to minimize other people's ambiguity of what your opinion is.
Exactly. Asserting is about clearly communicating your stance or opinion, leaving little room for ambiguity. It's a way of making your position known in a confident and unequivocal manner, often to influence or guide others' understanding or actions.